Your podcast success hinges on alignment. So, how do you find a co host who doesn't just get the assignment, but elevates it? Now, I know everybody's not a football fan like me, but I think a lot of people have probably seen the movie The Blind Side. Now, granted, we're not going to make this a savior kind of movie, if you know what direction I'm going in, but I am going to go in the direction of the character that it focused on. So Michael Orr played left tackle for the Baltimore Ravens for a very long time. And the thing about that particular position, left tackle, it is the position that protects the blind side of the quarterback. You have somebody like a Michael Orr, or you have somebody like, pick your left tackle, or you look at the center, you look at the left guard, you look at all of these different positions on the offensive line. And these, a lot of times, are the people who don't get the props in terms of their importance on a football field. But without that left tackle protecting the blind side of the quarterback, if he doesn't understand that assignment and if he doesn't elevate that assignment, and part of elevating that assignment is understanding that not only are you supposed to protect your quarterback, but sometimes you gotta get a little grimy. Sometimes, like, you gotta get that mean streak, and especially against those defensive linemen that are already coming at you, already feeling like I'm more athletic than you, I'm faster than you, I'm stronger than you, and you basically got to push back and say, "Are you though? Are you?" and say, "This is my guy right here. We on the same team, and I'm gonna protect this guy." So not only am I going to stick to my assignment, whatever this play calls for, whatever that assignment calls for, but I'm going to protect him. And not only am I going to protect him, but I'm going to give him plenty of time to dissect your defense and throw the ball, run the ball, whatever he plans on doing. But guess what? You ain't going to get to him. That's what you want out of your co-host on a podcast. You want somebody who not only understand what they've come to do as a part of your brand, as a part of your style of conversation, whatever you're trying to achieve with that podcast, but you want somebody that is going to really get in the mud and just say, "Hey, like, let's get it. Like, whatever you need, whatever this situation calls for, I am here for it. Not only am I going to do my job, but I'm going to do whatever the job calls for and whatever the moment calls for." And with that, that is Marion.
And that is Joe.
And I am a podcast pro. Marion.
Pro, did you say? Yes.
I did say pro. Are you going to tell them what pro means? Are you going to tell them?
That P is purposeful. And that purpose-driven contribution by your co-host, it's going to make your podcast, your platform, your content more authentic and impactful. That R is resilience. With a resilient co-host by your side, there's no podcast hurdle you can't conquer, jump, defeat, take out, handle in whatever way you need to do that. Listen, that O is outstanding. You want your co-host contribution to set the stage for the podcast to be set apart from anyone else's because they're so outstanding. It's not a game. It's not a joke.
Although I did use a game to illustrate it, but it's still not a game.
Definitely not a joke. Even though, there's some people feelings hurt behind the game that just happened, sir. I can't even believe that you're going here.
Yeah, but see, that's why I mentioned the Ravens, because, the Ravens fans, they done had a week to kind of sort of, get past
lick their wounds.
Like we still licking our wounds here in the DMV, but even still, it's like I know Ravens fans still salty, and the Bills ended up losing. So then it's like, oh, we got to deal with the Chiefs in another Super Bowl. So, like just everybody, man. So maybe I shouldn't even mention football at all, because it's a whole bunch of fan bases other than the Chiefs and the Eagles. It's just salty right
There it is. There it is. Bitter. But what we come to
now.
bring is the honey. Listen, that
Yes.
the co-host, your co-host. Joe, I want to ask you,
Yeah.
what are three things that you think a co-host definitely needs to buy into for you to go, okay, I'm with them?
Okay. Yeah. I like that question. So, I mean, one thing for sure that they have to buy into when it comes to the podcast and what your brand is supposed to represent, it has to be the philosophy. That's first and
Mhm.
foremost. And that's something that you come, especially if you're the creator of it, because I mean, you could have a thing where you come together and decide what the philosophy is. So let's say you have a podcast that's about, I don't know, it could be about music. Let's just say it's about music, but
Okay.
it's a specific type of angle when it comes to the music. It could be a thing whereas like you want to focus a lot of your energy on really peeling back the layers of the music and pulling back the
Mm.
curtain behind the person who made that music. And that's your philosophy, or like you believe that that's the most important thing when it comes to your podcast and getting people to understand why this music is so important, like why you're featuring this particular artist, why their music is so important. Like if you have that overarching philosophy, when you bring on those extra co-hosts, it won't be hard for them to then fall right in line with whatever is going on, ask questions, or the way that they prepare for when you have guests, or when you want it. Maybe it's not necessarily you have guests on. Maybe you want to talk about somebody's album that's out, and you don't want to just say, oh, it was fire, and just throw a bunch of fire emojis on the screen and this and that and the third. You want to do a real deep dive on that particular song, on that particular EP, or that particular project. And so if you get people who have that same passion to do the same thing, it makes sticking to that philosophy a whole lot easier. The second thing that I would say is the integrity of the podcast. What does your podcast stand for? Like,
Mm.
because it goes a little bit deeper than just the philosophy. It's like, what is your podcast, whether somebody's watching like you on the screen or they see you out in the street? It's like, how does it stick to a certain kind of, I don't want to say formula, and I don't even want to say rigidity, but at the same time, it's like a certain type of, again, not philosophy, because philosophy is really just kind of the thought behind the podcast, but the integrity is more of like the soul. That's really the soul of the podcast to me. Like, what's the spirit of the podcast? What's the energy of the podcast? And how does that remain true to itself no matter who's on the podcast, no matter who the guest is, no matter who the co-hosts are? Can you remain the same no matter what's going on? That's really the key thing right there. And
Let me tell
sometimes
you
that
that
can,
that right there, that's hard.
yeah, I was just about to say that can be hard.
That's hard.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Consistency. I think that's really probably the best way to kind of look at integrity. Like there's a certain level of consistency, because I mean, let's just keep it real. Like I know for me, being in podcasting, being in radio, I won't have guests that are the same week to week to week. I can have, like, just keeping it 100 all the way, I can have somebody that's like more of a quote unquote conscious rapper one week, but then I can have somebody that's more of a trap rapper the next week. But the thing is, even with those two different type of artists, the bottom line is my philosophy as a podcast was to really unpack whatever it is that they had to offer and ask them questions based on understanding who they were. And a lot of that comes in the pregame before I even got to the table of getting them on the show. And because I knew I had a certain philosophy with my podcast, and I knew I wanted to maintain a certain integrity no matter who was on the podcast in terms of how I treated people. And probably here's an even better way to look at it. I'll give you an even better example. You are going, if you get to a certain level as a podcast, you are going to get higher billings, if you know what I mean by that. And or let me explain a little bit more. Your star power that you're going to have on your podcast is going to rise just a little bit more. For me, just as an example, I didn't treat independent rapper over here worse or better than renowned rapper over here, because my bottom line is everybody got the same treatment no matter what. Now, yes, I'm going to do my due diligence as a podcast host, but the key thing is making sure that my fellow podcast hosts understand the assignment and not just understand it, but elevate it. Because really what it comes down to it is that you don't want somebody going back and looking and saying, dang, they treated that guy better than they treated me because that guy is known and I'm not. Like, no, no, you got the same treatment. We rolled out the red carpet for you as well. That's what I mean by integrity. And to me, that's when you break it down like that, integrity is actually easy to maintain. Because you and whoever your co-hosts are, y'all might not necessarily be of the same mind with every single thing that happens, but you can still agree on a lot of different things when it comes to whatever the philosophy, the integrity, and finally the direction of the podcast is. That's the third thing. How far do you want to take this thing? What's your audience? What's your goal in terms of what kind of audience do you want to reach? Do you want it to be more of a intimate setting in terms of your audience, which is fine? Or do you want to be on the level of the bigger podcasts? Do you want to be on the level of a Breakfast Club? Now, granted, Breakfast Club is more of a radio show, but kind of sort of the way they do it almost feels podcastish as well. But maybe you want to do it on the level of a Drink Champs, or maybe you want to do it on a level of a Joe Rogan Experience or Joe Budden podcast, no matter what it might be. Or maybe you want to be somewhere in between. And it's not even necessarily how far you want to take it, but just knowing the direction, the general direction. Everybody is feeding each other in a way that you put each other in positions for success.
Hey.
Nobody takes away so much from the other person or puts too much on another person that it's imbalanced. That balance, y'all know me, balance is key, is like my mantra for life with everything. So you got to make sure whatever direction that you decide to go, that everybody is really buying into that philosophy, that integrity in that direction, so that it's not so much like push and pull and feeling like, okay, I want to go here, but they want to go there. Then this person wants to go like here and there at the same time. Like, no. That's something that you have to have these conversations about before you even get to the table, before you even fire up that camera for the first time, before those mics get hot. These are the things that you got to talk about. You got to agree on the philosophy. You got to agree on the integrity, and you got to agree on the direction.
I need to add to that.
Absolutely.
You got to agree on the vision.
Yes.
If everyone doesn't align with what the vision for the show is, it can be extremely challenging.
Yeah.
So as a co-host, a few episodes ago, I would say go back and watch it. Go back and watch Ain't No Stopping Us Now 1, where we're talking about that flow and where I shared the uncomfortable situation that I was in first as a podcast co-host. Okay, so I can say now the next step in what you were just speaking of. When you sign up to be somebody's co-host, you better ask them what their philosophy, what their
Mm-hmm.
vision, what the
Mm-hmm.
direction. If you're signing up with someone else,
Yeah.
you want to sit down and view what they've already done. You
Yes.
really want to have a full listening ear. You want to let's have a quick dress rehearsal. Do we have an outline? Do we have, so if that person isn't organized, you bring the organization. But you definitely don't learn from your girl. I say it that way. Learn from your girl. Don't say yes
Mm-hmm.
until you know everything.
Yeah.
Don't say yes until you hear everything. Who's the audience? What time is this? What do I need to do fully? Because I'm telling you, every time I went, it was like, and you're supposed to be doing this, and you're supposed to be. I was like, when we had a discussion, that was not in the discussion. But guess what I didn't do? I did not write it down and have them sign it.
Mm-hmm.
That would have stopped the whole bunch. So
Yeah.
that philosophy, that integrity, that direction, that vision, that needs to be written down so
Yeah.
that everybody can come back to the goal. If it ever
Absolutely.
gets off track, if somebody's feeling like, wait, we said we weren't going to put down people. We said we weren't going to talk bad about people. We said that
Mm-hmm.
this is how we were going to carry ourselves. We said that we were not going to use vulgar language. We said that this and that. We aligned some things up. We said that our mission is to cultivate the person behind the mic.
That's right.
We can say it backwards. We can say it forwards. We can say it with our eyes closed. You can get him in the room. You can get me in the room. And we're going to say the reason why we here is the same
Mm-hmm.
because we talked about it.
That's right. That's right.
We
That's the key.
discussed it.
Mm-hmm.
We've
Mm.
both written it.
Yep.
I'm like, wait, what? It's like you, if you don't set the understanding for what it is you're about to embark and venture into, either bringing someone on to with what you're doing or you joining on to what someone else is doing. If there is no understanding, you're going to be out there walking in the wilderness.
That's right. That's right.
And to not walk in the wilderness, write the vision and make it plain
Mm-hmm.
so everybody can follow it.
Yeah.
Do you see how simple that our 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 mission? It's so simple. We're
Mm.
cultivating the person behind the mic.
That's right.
That that's our mission. So that any of the pitfalls or hiccups or obstacles that we have been able to climb ourselves out of, climb over, bust through, literally go, I didn't even know that existed. That's what we're bringing here to
Yeah.
cultivate the person behind the mic
Mm-hmm.
because you're a person.
Yeah.
You're a person with feelings. So then you get with other people with feelings. So you want to make sure you're setting up clear boundaries. There has to be a common understanding. And this understanding flows into the episode where that understanding goes into, okay, this is the topic we're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
Let's make sure everybody understand
Yep.
this topic that we're talking
Yep.
about. That
Yep.
we're all on the same page. Because guess what? Hold on, Joe. Don't go nowhere. Because guess what? We all need to be playing from the same playbook.
That's right. That's right. Ha. Ha
Ha
ha.
ha! We,
Ha. I see what you did there.
yes, we have to be playing from the same playbook.
That's right.
We
That's
you
right.
you can't run your own plays
Mm-hmm.
and think that team is going to be successful. You
Mm-hmm.
can't rely on just one player.
Yes.
It's a team.
Yes. That's
It's
right.
a team. You're working together. You
Hmm.
can't put all the weight on one person
Yeah.
and then go, okay, where's my mic? I'm ready. Just give me what you want me to, and bring no contribution to the topic, no
Right.
insight, no value, no impact. Joe, how do you feel about the playbook and how that thing should be set up?
Well, in terms of the playbook, yeah, it's a matter of you might have the playbook already written, and then you're bringing people along to kind of run the plays and maybe even add plays to the playbook because
Yeah,
that's something
enhance
that
it.
you right, exactly, because that's the thing about running or creating a playbook, whether you're talking basketball, whether you're talking football, no matter what it might be. You could create a playbook or you could create a play sheet or you could have a set certain amount of plays that you want to run, but then it gets to game time and you got to make adjustments because things don't always go according to how you think they're going to go just because you got a playbook at hand. So it's a matter of, yes, create the playbook, and it's better to create the playbook with the people that you're going to be running the plays with, but also know when to go off script because sometimes you have to. Sometimes you got to call an audible, so to say, and call another play based on what you see or based on what's going on in those particular moments. So when you think about understanding what a topic is, like a lot of times that's your play, that's your playbook, but the conversation might go in a completely different direction than what you expected when you drew up the playbook. So then it's a matter of, okay, how do you add something valuable to it? How do you give more insight to what's going on? But that requires you to find somebody who knows how to be present in the moment. If you got somebody who's so stuck in, okay, this is the way that we do it, like we're just going to do it like this, and we're
And
not going to move from this particular state. No, you got to be somebody that can go with the flow. You know what I'm saying? That can just, hey, sometimes we here, sometimes we there, but we always land right at center. Like I think that's the key. Knowing how to always get back to center, even if you go left, even if you go right, still somehow get in the center, still somehow bringing it back to whatever the integrity, the philosophy, and the direction of your podcast is. So if no matter what the topic is for the day, no matter who the guest is on for that day, having somebody that not only understands like, okay, we got to stay as much on topic as we can, or make it as related to the topic as we possibly can, but then also add something that's going to elevate that conversation even more. Once again, you understand the assignment, but then how you elevate that assignment. That's really
okay,
key.
that is really key because you just brought out that you have to be flexible. It's like, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
get the play. So for me, this is what the playbook is. The playbook is, okay, we have this ready. We have
Mm-hmm.
flushed this out.
Yeah.
Everybody bringing their aha moments to the table.
Yeah.
Everybody's ready to
Yeah.
to just take it over from whatever angle it comes.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody is ready. But see,
Yeah.
because you've studied, because you've
Mm-hmm.
prepared, when
Mm-hmm.
you have to pivot, you're still using you might take this from this play, that piece from that play, this piece, and then just run something totally different. Guess what? That's brand new to you, brand new to your guests, brand
Yep.
new to your audience, creating a spectacular, absolutely mind-blowing experience that
Mm-hmm.
no one expected.
That's right.
No one. Not even you. Have you ever been speaking, Joe? Have you ever been talking? And you're saying it and it's coming out of your mouth, but you can't even believe.
Yeah. Yes.
Where
That's
did that come from?
yeah. That's happened many a times. Many a times.
That's what you want.
Yeah.
That's how you want to experience your podcast, because if it's that great to you, imagine how your community, the audience, is feeding and feeling off of what you're creating.
Yes.
Because your excitement, that that joy, that bubbling over that happens in that moment, that aha, that epiphany, that revelation to you. Okay, so if it's a revelation to you, guess what?
Mm-hmm. It's gonna
More than
translate to them.
likely. Yes.
Yeah.
It's going to translate to your community. You said that perfectly. It's going to translate to your community, bringing more impactful, empowering information
Yeah.
or just revelation to others if it's impacting you that way. So, Joe, what would you say is an amazing recap of this episode that our audience should walk away with?
Well, I think it's really, really simple. I think it boils down to four things that we really encapsulated in terms of when you're finding that perfect co-host who really matches the way that you contribute to a podcast. The first thing is philosophy. You got to be of a similar mind. It doesn't have to be the same exact mind, but of a similar mind. Everybody has to be on board with that same thought. It's the way that you do it. It's what you believe as a podcast. Integrity. You have to more or less be consistent in the same, no matter who's on the podcast, no matter what you're doing. It's that same thing or that thing that people can say, okay, no matter what's going on, this is the heart and the soul of their podcast. The direction, where you going? Everybody knowing which way is up. Nobody's debating, well, I think that up might be actually a little bit off to the left or a little bit off to the right. No, no, no. Everybody knows that up is up. Everybody's on board with that being the direction of where you want to take your podcast. And then finally, vision. What you see for the future. Actually, we're not even going to just say the future. We're going to say the present and the future, because you have to be present in every moment that you have your podcast in order for you to move ahead in the future, because the direction feeds off of the fact that you see it the same way or that you see it similarly as one another. So, boom. That would be my
That
recap.
That is an amazing recap of this episode and the value that everybody should walk away with. Listen, I want to remind everybody, please go in the comments, put your podcast in the comments. We want to build a community where we're supporting and growing each other's platform. That's the kind of community we're building here. Also, DM us that. Add that, drop that comment on any of our content that's on social media so that we can start to look at what you have going on and follow each other and really build each other up. This effort, this is all a partnership. This is not just between Joe and I. This is a partnership between all of us.
Absolutely. And please don't forget to subscribe. Since you're watching, you're here. We got you to the degree. Now it's time for you to subscribe to what we got going on. Please make sure that you subscribe to our YouTube channel right here. Subscribe, hit that bell notification. So whenever we go live, post a new video, post shorts, post all types of content, you'll be among the first to get it, the first to receive it, and be among the first to pass it along, because sharing is caring. And that's how you really show that you care about the information that we're spreading to the community. Please also make sure that you follow us on social media. We are at I Am a Podcast Pro on Instagram, and we also have a Facebook group that is I Am a Podcast Pro with Marion
And Joe.
That's right. So please make sure that you join our group, and you can share your comments, you can share your feedback, anything that you have. You can share your podcast there as well, as Marion said, or you can share any suggestions that you may have for us to improve what we're doing, or things that you want us to talk about that you don't hear anybody else talk about, or you haven't heard us talk about yet. Please make sure that you comment on any of our post and let us know, or you can email us directly at iamapodcastpro@gmail.com. Once again, that's iamapodcastpro@gmail.com. As always, we thank you all so much for all of your support, for commenting, for spreading the love, spreading the wealth, all of that good stuff. And of course, we can't talk about being an I Am a Podcast Pro without breaking down that pro one more again. Marion.
That pro is PRO. That P is purposeful. Listen, you want to make sure you're purposeful with your philosophy, that your team knows exactly what they're doing, how they're doing it, why they're doing it. And everybody's under the same understanding, because you want that resilience to keep you in the integrity of how things are going. And along with that resilience, you want to be outstanding. You want to be outstanding with the direction that everybody is traveling together towards the vision that you have set up for your platform. See you on the next episode.